So I have a somewhat controversial opinion about this.
No, that's not shocking to anybody, just so you know that.
I'm not confident that husbands are exactly the spiritual leaders of their home. So there's something called the priesthood of all believers.
Okay.
So men and women, all priests. And the nature of the priesthood was they were the mediator between you and God. We have one high priest, Jesus, and we're all priests. This means that between me and God, there's nobody else.
Okay.
So that I don't think your husband is the conduit in any way between you and the Lord. Now, I think he should lead spiritually in the home, but I think it's a little, like the language I don't like in particular is that the husband is the priest of the home. Now, I've heard it my whole Christian life. But I actually think we should rethink that language, personally. So I don't think that's biblical. I think the tendency of the church is to create priesthoods where they don't exist. Right? Look at the church. Look at the broader church. We create priesthoods where they don't exist. And we're all priests and kings before God. So that being said, I do want him to see the husband as a spiritual leader, but there's a difference between him being a spiritual leader for the home and being your spiritual leader. It's okay if you're more spiritual than your husband is what I'm saying. That's okay. You don't have to, ideally, you'd like to see him being really godly and spiritual. But I don't know why that has to be the case. So for your family, if you're spiritual and they're not, you do the same thing as if your husband was, say, handicapped and he couldn't clean out the gutters. You might go do it. You take up more responsibility because he's not. Is that ideal? Not at all. But you pick up the slack. If a woman leads in some ways because a man won't, that is not her fault. She's the hero in that story where she's like, I'm only doing this because he won't. Go for it. Like that's a great thing. I think that's fantastic. You could try to lead your family to do devotionals. You could do this, and the whole time, I would just encourage some carefulness here. Celebrate what he does do spiritually, and don't scoff and don't correct all the time. Because this is very emasculating for a human, for a man in particular. If he feels like when he does finally offer a scripture, he gets told, well, that's not quite the right context. Or if he finally does say, hey, I'd like to lead us in prayer, and he's praying, he's like, God, I guess help us, and you giggle, you're like laughing at him. Oh, he's never praying again in front of you.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? Be his cheerleader in this way. And I do the same thing if I felt my wife, she's fine, and it's got her, I felt she needed. I would want her, anytime she engages in any positive spiritual activity, to look and see me beaming in support. Right. And I would think you'd want to offer the same thing for your husband, not criticism, but support. Hey, even if you stumble all the way down the road, I'm just so glad you're on the road.
Yeah.
So good job, babe. Keep going. That's a good attitude to have.